Sports are so boring, bro. The only reason why sports are as nostalgic or as involving for most people is because it's the only thing, especially in small communities, heavily in big communities, but especially in small communities, it's one of the few things that they have that actually brings them together socially. Because all the other ways that we casually come together are slowly getting destroyed because they all have a very big financial incentive to them. And after you reach a certain age, most people kind of get locked into that point where, they're not trying to go out to places with alcohol and do all the other kinds of stuff. It's just like it becomes extremely convenient that one of the few things that most people can do is go to some type of football game on the weekends because they don't really have anything else to do. And even in every area of how people have lived, it's like that's just what's been put in front of people's face for them to like. So, you aren't just what you like. You also are what you surround yourself with or what gets put in front of you. So when every school has a mandatory sector for sports and they have to recruit people and they're trying to get, see if any kids want to get involved, and there's all these other costs, and it technically all is just a big money incentive at the end of the day. It's just like the kids are going to put all this money in, they have to go get stuff. Parents are so involved. That at that point it is like an economic social event. And that is one of the only foundational ones that we have had for a long time, aside from non-invasive things. I say invasive is like nobody made it mandatory for schools to have music and to do live performance-based stuff. They just embedded that into sports and everything around it, and it's having its own music, which, think about it, they made it to where music is a really big part of it. People have theme songs. Like, they've made people grab onto this kind of stuff just because they were fed it, not because they actually would like it. And some people, you end up loving it. You get so used to it, you get so comfortable with it that, it is what it is. And I have no doubt that there are plenty of people who are still going to like their sports. Like, the whole point of this is saying that the reason why it's as prominent as it is that if we as people had all the options in front of us throughout growing up at an equal stature, meaning like trying to sit here and talk about going to the NFL and getting D1 and being on TV and being in the NFL, it would be the same trajectory as like a music artist, doing artist development real early on. They want to get into it, and then they somehow are able to get recruited by an agency by the time that they graduate. And if they're good enough and they have all the right stuff, marketing, whatever else it is, they learned enough, they get to go to the next phase in a college. Like, just think about it in the same format, but apply it to all of the small ways that people try to find community with their own likes. Is that if that was evenly distributed between what people have the ability to get into, I don't actually think sports would end up being at the top 10 of that list. To be honest, I think it would be at the bottom. And now that we live in this attention age with the attention economy, we've obviously seen the numbers overall go down or get botted, because we can now track how things get botted. And not as many people are as interested in it anyway. But I think that it is very flawless that it was put into the American propaganda machine in and of itself. And I think when something is cultural, because that's like the whole foundation, is that something has to be embedded as a cultural staple for it to continue and exist through generations. And that is the bigger picture of what I'm speaking on here. Because in the bigger picture of how sports have come into fruition, has been like, Roman Empire type highlighting the Colosseum and the cathedral and people doing this stuff. I have no doubt that even without sports, there would still be many athletes who have the same stature and are still in all those kinds of places. And like, what I'm saying is that if there was a real convergence behind it all, then, and people actually had more of a choice, there would probably be more positive outcomes to us as a whole, being able to find ways to gather together. And that's just a part of how they have indoctrinated people so that we are separate. We live our individualism. We convene whenever it seems like it's necessary or it seems convenient enough because we have to be social. And when the final curtain call comes for everything that's going on, if people woke up tomorrow, it would be an entirely different thing. And people would see not just sports, but anything that is entertainment that offers no intrinsic value and eventually gets so repetitive because it is the same thing over and over again that it doesn't have the same interest anymore. If sports did not have sports betting, people would not watch it. The viewership on that would go down so drastically if people could not make money just from being involved. And I'm going to leave it at that, to be honest. Sports are boring. Like, I grew up around people, small town vibes. I was in the circumstances where, you know, sports was the primary way where people around got any type of like attention, how they got out of the trenches, how they got their families to different places. And that's also another part of it. Is it being used as a big crutch in that way? But I think at the end of the day, most people, if they could find other unique things that are tailored more to them entirely at an early age before this stuff is indoctrinated, most people would not care. Because when I was in school, most of it seemed cringe anyway. And it is. Like, it. Maybe that's just me. But it just, there's nothing wrong with liking something and having a passion for it. But, you know, people will die for their favorite team in the NFL like they would for their siblings or somebody that they know. And yeah, it's way too deep, bro. Okay, I'm out. We're live every day, 7 p.m. CST, Central Standard Time, on Twitch. Make sure you guys tap in with your boy, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.